After almost 60 years of strong bipartisan support, Congress has cut all federal funding for public media, stripping away a critical pillar of support for local stations like ours. At Vermont Public, we'll lose at least $2 million this year. If all our sustaining members increase their gift by $7 per month, we'll close that gap for good. Increase your gift today and help close the gap at vermontpublic.org/update.
From Vermont Public, this is The Frequency. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. It's Wednesday, September 3rd, and here are today's headlines. Amazon plans to appeal a rejected proposal for a distribution facility in Essex. WCAX reports that officials at the e-commerce giant confirmed the appeal. Meetings this spring and summer drew plenty of public comment and dissent about the proposed Saxon Hill facility, and Essex officials also raised traffic concerns. The Development Review Board rejected the project in July in a 4-2 vote. Officials shared this week that the board nixed the project because Amazon had not provided the traffic information it had requested. Amazon affirms it did share an adequate traffic analysis. An Amazon spokesperson told WCAX in a statement that the company will appeal and that it stands by the distribution facility's goal of providing jobs and improving delivery service in the Burlington area. The University of Vermont is launching a new volunteer program this month to help foster friendships between teens and seniors. The program also aims to address the elder care workforce shortage. Marissa Byrne with the Center on Aging at UVM's Larner College of Medicine is leading the program. It will assign up to 50 high school students to volunteer every other week at local senior care facilities. Byrne says they'll receive training and learn about careers like gerontology, social work, physical therapy, and case management.
And we just want to make sure that students have the opportunity to imagine what a career in aging could look like and identify if that's a space that they end up feeling really comfortable and at home in.
Byrne won a $50,000 Eisner Fellowship that will pay for the program, and she says it will initially focus on Chittenden, Washington, Addison, and Franklin counties. Vermont Attorney General Charity Clark has put together a bipartisan group of nearly 50 attorneys general to try and stop the spread of fake images produced without people's consent. The group is putting pressure on major search engines and payment platforms to voluntarily stop providing access to these intimate images. Clark says she wants companies to put safeguards in place to protect victims who play no role in the production of fake images that are often very sexual in nature.
Sometimes technology gets ahead of policy. So having identified the harm, it felt that we as a coalition of attorneys general should take steps to do everything we can to get the harm to stop.
Clark says this is a first step, but if tech companies don't respond to their concerns, further legal action may become necessary. Students in Vermont Public Schools are back in the classroom and the cafeteria. All kids are entitled to free lunch as part of the state's Universal School Meals program. Susan Grabowski is the food program coordinator for the Wyndham Southeast Supervisory Union, and yesterday on Vermont Edition, she said the program has helped reduce stigma around getting a free meal.
It's absolutely great. You don't have to, punch in any codes or anything, so all kids have access to meals. It's even the playing field. It's created more equity, and we can't go back, ever.
Earlier this year, the free school meals program was on the chopping block as state leaders tried to cut education costs, but legislators decided to keep it due to widespread support for the program. Coming up, instead of euthanizing roosters trained for use in illegal cockfighting rings, a sanctuary in Springfield aims to rehabilitate the birds for eventual adoption into new flocks. We'll hear from the co-founder of the sanctuary after this.
Thanks for listening to The Frequency, where support comes from SRH Law, believing that values and mission still matter. When you need good counsel for your values-based work, whether it's securing our energy future, building affordable and sustainable communities, or advancing a values-led economy, they're here to help you make a difference. SRHLaw.com. Making a difference is our practice.
This show is supported by Odoo. When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up and it gets complicated and confusing. Odoo solves this. It's a single company that sells a suite of enterprise apps that handles everything from accounting to inventory to sales. Odoo is all connected on a single platform in a simple and affordable way. You can save money without missing out on the features you need. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Vine Sanctuary in Springfield pioneered a once rare form of rehabilitation for roosters rescued from cockfighting and other dangerous situations. Cockfighting is a felony offense in all 50 states and U.S. territories, but illegal fighting rings remain popular anyway. Vine's work provided evidence that roosters can be successfully rehabilitated and even adopted into new flocks. Before their work took off, these birds were routinely euthanized. This year marks the sanctuary's 25th anniversary, so Vermont Public's Jen Jarecki drove to Springfield to speak with Vine's co-founder about these often misunderstood birds and the impact of stereotypes on boys, men, and roosters.
Hi, Jen. Welcome to Vine Sanctuary.
That's Patrice Jones, welcoming me to what's called the Valley, a large side yard with various gated spaces that house dozens of birds, like roosters, hens, ducks, turkeys, and guinea fowl. Between the Valley and Vine's second sanctuary space, the Commons, which is less than a minute's drive up the road, the nonprofit cares for over 500 animals. Vine is an acronym that stands for Veganism is the Next Evolution. Patrice founded it with their partner Miriam in 2000 after spending much of their life advocating for the LGBTQ+ community and for people with disabilities. The sanctuary has been in the Green Mountain State since 2009, but it actually began in Maryland when Patrice and Miriam were living near a lot of factory farms, and they found a chicken on the side of the road.
At first we cheered, yay, you got away. And then we realized, this chicken is gonna die out here in the snow. So we turned the truck around and Miriam chased the bird back and forth. I can answer the question, why did the chicken cross the road? It was to get away from Miriam. And it just started from there.
That first bird came to be known as Viktor Frankl, named for the Austrian philosopher and Holocaust survivor. As word got around that there was a new sanctuary taking in birds, calls started coming in regularly, like one from a retiring humane officer who had 24 roosters that all needed rehoming.
She was in tears. She said she couldn't bear to kill them. And so I said, okay. And Miriam, more sensibly, figured out how we were going to do it.
Shortly after that call, 24 roosters arrived at the sanctuary.
The hens, who had never seen such splendiferousness, stood literally gape-jawed as colorful rooster after colorful rooster arrived. They got along great.
About a year later, another call, another person crying and trying to prevent a group of roosters from being euthanized. Patrice and Miriam decided to start with 3 of the birds.
We had learned how roosters resolve conflicts among themselves, and we had figured out that roosters fight not out of aggression, but because they're afraid.
Patrice described for me one of their first encounters with a bird rescued from cockfighting.
As soon as I lifted him out, I could feel his heart pounding in his chest, and I could see that his pupils had responded to the fight or flight syndrome, and he was so jerky that he was trying to fly out of my hands. This was a person in a panic. And so I did the first step of our new protocol, which was to soothe, soothe, soothe.
That first step can take anywhere from a few hours to some weeks. The aim is to get the bird into a more relaxed state where it can hear and be around other roosters without going into fight or flight.
Then the real rehab begins, where they are set up in an area where they can see and be seen by the other roosters as well as the hens. We can't teach a rooster the little side step or wing drop or any of the little signals that roosters use for each other when they're resolving an argument. They can only learn that by watching other birds.
Once the observation stage goes well, the birds are let out so they can socialize with hens and roosters alike. If they attack, they get scooped up and placed back in their pen until the next try.
Oftentimes, they can't make it 30 seconds to start with. Then it's a few minutes, then it's 5 minutes, then it's so long that you're bored and reading a book, at which point you can conclude that they're ready.
To be candid, I was floored to learn that some roosters arrive at the sanctuary in need of no rehabilitation whatsoever. So I pressed Patrice. Even roosters rescued from cockfighting?
Even roosters rescued from cockfighting sometimes arrive, look around, see that nobody's fighting, breathe what I can only call is a sigh of relief, and then wander away to be with themselves because they're just so happy to not have to fight anymore.
That may be challenging for some listeners to believe because of a predominant cultural narrative. And it's that narrative that brings us back to the first bird Patrice and Miriam rescued, Victor Frankl, who actually started off as Moselle.
We thought she was a hen. She turned out to be a rooster. I had grown so attached to this bird that I named her after my grandmother. And yet, as soon as I heard that he was a rooster, I had a hard time feeling the same way. All these ideas came rushing into my head. Roosters are arrogant. Roosters are aggressive. They strut around wanting to rule the roost. Once I fought my way past them, I just felt mad that these stereotypes had tried to trick me and had tried to interfere with my relationships. So that really got me thinking about, well, where do we get these ideas?
Film, television, children's books, commercials. There's no shortage of depictions of roosters in a particular light.
Roosters are held up as avatars of traditional masculinity and are stereotyped as having all of the most toxic traits of stereotypical masculinity, aggressiveness, needing to be in charge all the time. These are not true of roosters or of boys. These stereotypes hurt animals, but these are the stereotypes that hurt us.
Patrice says they'll keep working to combat these stereotypes in birds and in people. In Springfield, I'm Jen Jarecki for Vermont Public.
Thanks for listening to The Frequency today. We had additional reporting from Mary Engish, Nina Keck, Bob Kinzel, and Michaela Lafrac. Today's episode was edited by Stephanie Colombini, and our music is by Blue Dot Sessions. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. Talk to you tomorrow.